when money became more sacred than people. There is an inversion that has become so normal that most people do not even recognize it anymore. We have been taught to give to the institution while neglecting the individual. We have been taught that putting money into a religious system is somehow automatically giving to God. Meanwhile, the neighbor standing beside us can be struggling to eat. The single mother can be behind on rent. The father can be sleeping in his car. The family can be wondering how they are going to keep the lights on. And somehow, we can walk right past them on Sunday morning, enter a multi-million-dollar building, drop money into an offering plate, and tell ourselves we have fulfilled our responsibility to love. Something has been inverted. Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." Not, "Love the institution instead of your neighbor." Not, "Maintain the building while the people collapse." Not, "Protect the organization while the individual quietly suffers." Love your neighbor, the person, the living temple standing directly in front of you. Yet religion has psychologically trained generations of people to associate the institution with God. The building became God's house. The offering became God's money. The pastor became God's man. The organization became God's work. And once those associations were embedded deeply enough, giving money upward into the institution felt sacred. But receiving money personally could feel shameful. Think about how strange that is. The church can ask every single week. Nobody says, "Why can't the church take care of itself?" Nobody says, "Maybe the church should get another job." Nobody says, "Why is this institution asking for money again?" The institution asking has been normalized, but let an individual say, "I need some help." Suddenly, people become suspicious. What did you do with your money? Why didn't you prepare? Why aren't you working more? Are you taking advantage of people? Why are you asking others to support you? We created a world where the institution can receive continuously while the individual feels ashamed for needing to receive temporarily. That is a strange, double standard. And I understand it because I lived inside of it. There were seasons when I gave what amounted to a car payment every single month to the church without thinking twice about it. I believed I was giving to God. And yet, there were also seasons when asking anyone for help felt almost impossible. Giving made me feel spiritual. Receiving made me feel unworthy. Where did that come from? Because that is not circulation. That is programming. And once you begin examining it, you start realizing how deeply money has been woven into religious conditioning. Give your 10%. Give your offering. Give your seed. Support the ministry. Support the building. Support the salaries. Support the programs. Support the machinery. And sometimes the very people funding all of it are drowning financially themselves. People have lost homes. People have lost vehicles. People have struggled to buy groceries. People have faced medical bills, unemployment, divorce, homelessness, and disaster. And while there are absolutely beautiful churches and communities that genuinely step into those situations and help people, there are also plenty of individuals who have spent years supporting institutions only to discover that when they needed help, they were expected to figure it out on their own. That should make us ask questions. Why is receiving honorable for the institution but embarrassing for the individual? Why can an organization ask every week without shame, while a human being can need help once and feel humiliated? Why have we normalized giving upward while making receiving personally feel like failure? Why have we taught people to be radically generous toward systems and radically self-sufficient toward themselves? That is the inversion. Take care of yourself. Do not burden anybody. Do not ask for help. Work harder. Figure it out. Be responsible, but also give, tithe, sow, support, sacrifice. And somehow we never stop long enough to notice the contradiction. We preach community while training people to suffer privately. We preach generosity while making people ashamed to receive generosity. We preach the body while teaching every individual member of that body to act like an island. That is not how a body works. A body survives through circulation. Blood does not flow into one organ and stay there. It moves. It goes where it is needed. Sometimes one part receives more because that part needs more. Sometimes another part carries the load. There is no shame in that. That is life. Maybe provision was always supposed to work the same way. Sometimes you have abundance. Sometimes I have abundance. Sometimes you need help. Sometimes I need help. Sometimes I sow into you. Sometimes you sow into me. Sometimes I refresh somebody. Sometimes somebody refreshes me. No shame, no hierarchy, no superiority, no inferiority, just circulation. And this is where the language of the temple becomes so important. We were taught to call a building the house of God, but Scripture says, you are the temple of God. You, the person, the living, breathing human being. So what happens when we spend decades pouring resources into what we call God's house while neglecting the actual temples walking around us? Maybe feeding your hungry neighbor is sacred. Maybe helping someone make rent is sacred. Maybe paying somebody's electric bill is sacred. Maybe helping a father keep his vehicle is sacred. Maybe buying groceries for someone is sacred. Maybe supporting someone while they rebuild their life is sacred. Maybe taking care of yourself is sacred. Maybe receiving help when you need it is sacred. Because Jesus did not say, love your institution as yourself. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. And that last part matters too, as yourself. Many of us were taught how to sacrifice ourselves while calling it holiness. Give until it hurts. Serve until you collapse. Pour everything out. Never ask for anything. Never need anything. Never receive anything. But if I neglect myself in the name of God, how am I supposed to understand what loving my neighbor as myself even means? If I believe receiving makes me weak, I will eventually look down on other people when they need to receive. If I believe needing help makes me irresponsible, I will eventually judge somebody else when they need help. If I believe worth is measured by self-sufficiency, then community becomes impossible. Because real community requires both giving and receiving. Money itself is not evil. Money is a tool. It moves. It circulates. It creates possibilities. It can feed. It can house. It can relieve pressure. It can give someone room to breathe. The problem begins when money becomes identity, when money becomes fear, when money becomes control, when money becomes status, when money becomes the measure of spiritual worth, when money becomes mammon. Mammon is not simply having money. Mammon is being ruled by it. And sometimes fear of not having money can control a person just as much as having a lot of money can. Sometimes the inability to receive is just another form of bondage to money. Because if I am terrified of ever appearing needy, then money still has power over my identity. If I need to prove that I can always take care of myself, then money still has power over my worth. If I can give freely but cannot receive freely, there is still something inside of me that is not free. That is what I am learning. I have had money. I have had very little. I have lived in a car. I have walked through seasons where I had almost nothing. And I have walked through seasons where I had enough to give generously. Neither condition determined my worth. Paul said he learned to be content in abundance and in need. He did not say he never had need. He learned that neither abundance nor lack got to define him. That is freedom. So maybe the uncomfortable conversation around money is not simply, how much did you give? Maybe it is also, can you receive? Can you ask for help without believing you have failed? Can you allow somebody to sow into you without feeling less worthy? Can you notice the person beside you before automatically sending everything toward an institution? Can you give because love moved you instead of because guilt pressured you? Can you hold money loosely enough that it can move wherever love needs it to move? And maybe the deepest question is this: when did money become more sacred than people? When did the offering become more important than the neighbor? When did maintaining the structure become more normal than meeting the need? When did asking from a pulpit become respectable while asking from a person became shameful? Something is backwards. And maybe restoration begins when we stop making money the measure of worth and start letting love determine where provision flows. Sometimes through you, sometimes to you, always without shame. Spirits whisper, maybe generosity was never meant to flow in only one direction. Maybe community begins when both hands are allowed to open, one to give, one to receive, and love is the current moving through them both.